In 1940, the population of Arizona was 499,261 people. In 1960, the population of Arizona was 1,302,161 people. In 1980, the population was 2,716,546 people. Post-World War II, Arizona created jobs, homes, and a need for more electricity. The Salt River Project used the Roosevelt Dam and constructed reservoirs to produce electricity and bring water by using the ancient Hohokam technology, the canals. The Japanese-owned farms began to change hands, and John F. Long, among other landowners, began developing farmland for new neighborhoods. The 1950s and 1960s, farmlands were used to build communities, and the old downtown storefronts were replaced by the shopping mall. With the building of many new neighborhoods and the need for more affordable food, changes to our Phoenix farmlands came quickly. Adults replaced children in the fields. Cesar Chavez organized Mexican labor to pick food from the fields throughout the Southwest. He worked tirelessly from the 1950s through the 1980s to make sure that people were treated fairly who worked on the farms. Children no longer took roles in family business, but were educated in their neighborhoods. For the first time, many children had free time. The rest of the world had Bozo the Clown. Arizona had the Gold Dust Charlie Show. From the Gold Dust Charlie Show came one standout character that would change popular culture forever. To go into show business?
Wait a minute, that's a good question. It was a little, the question really is a little broader than that. It was what I knew that I wanted to make people laugh when I was like in the 3rd or 4th grade, but I didn't know whether it would be with drawing funny cartoons or being on the television or what was the third? Writing funny stuff. As it turned out, I ended up doing all 3.
How did you get the part on Gold Dust Charlie?
by pestering Goldust Charlie day in, day out to let me on the show.
Yeah, I was reading it on Wallace Watchers, and then finally they just said yes.
Yes, Goldust said, "Oh, all right." I wanted to be on the show. And then I wanted a show of my own.
Yeah. How did you get the idea for It's Wallace, or from who? Well, probably you, anyways. But like, what made you want to start It's Wallace?
The character was based on essays and funny writing that I had done in school. And it went back as far as, I think, the 7th or 8th grade. And I used to write about a guy called Wallace. And then, I told Goldust, I got a costume, I'm all ready to do a character. And I knew exactly what he would be like, because I thought about it a lot, because I wanted to be on television. And that was, he's the guy that made it all possible for me.
Cool. Very cool. How did you meet Ladmo?
Ladmo was already there before I was. He was a cameraman, but he was a very funny cameraman, and so I dragged him out around from behind the camera and had him be on the show with me. Because you run out of one-man comedy pretty quick, and you find out that you need somebody else to play off of. I was very lucky there.
Mm-hmm. How did you meet Pat McMahon?
Pat McMahon one day walked into the studio, introduced himself to Ladmo and I, and he was I think he was a weathercaster, his first job. And he saw what we were doing, and he started acting up and doing stuff, and we said, "Come on the show with us, be nuts with us." It just, McMahon did all those characters.
Captain Super.
Right. And the problem was with Ladmo and I, we were just Ladmo and I. Ladmo didn't do any other characters, and neither did I. Well, I did do one later, Grudgmire.
How did you meet Mike Condello?
Yeah, this is good the way you prepared this to get have the questions and then leave space for Mike Condello. I first met him when I was producing a musical show, and I used to go around to different clubs and line up the acts. But when I met Mike, I realized how talented he was, and we brought him on the show to add music. And he also was a really funny guy, and a really nice guy, and he stayed with us for years.
So, tell me about Hubcap and the Wheels.
Pat did a lot of characters, an awful lot. Marshall Good, Captain Super, Aunt Maud, Gerald, Boffo the Clown, and then he came up with being a rock star. And so he called it Hubcap and the Wheels, and Mike Condello, of course, was the leader of the Wheels, the band that backed up Hubcap. And the whole thing was a joke, but he started selling records a lot, and RCA or I think picked him up, and he was selling records nationally. That was very successful, but it ran its course in about 5 years.
How many years have you been in show business?
Oh my gosh. I started in 1954.
Oh
54. 1954, so that, what would that be?
56?
I think you're right. Almost 60 years.
How young were you when you started show business?
I think 23 with, I was 23 when I started TV. I had done radio back in Indiana and back in New York. Man on the Street shows. And our gag was that nobody was ever out there in front of the radio station. So I'd start interviewing dogs, you know. Yeah, I was in radio before television.
What years were your favorite years doing the show and why?
Good question. The 60s. It just seemed like we just started creating all these characters and every one of them was clicking and making the show, you know, have a cast of, big cast of, you know, like 20 people. 10 of the people were McMahon.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's when all the characters were developed, and then it just kind of ran by itself during the 70s. And I think we were on until 89 or something. Yeah, it was. I mean, people were asking us, please stop.
Who was your favorite guest on the show ever? Like,
do you know Don Rickles? He's a very, very funny man. It's Don Rickles.
Yeah. He did the voice for Mr. Potato Head in the Toy Story movie.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Don.
That's how she would know who Don Rickles is. Otherwise, she would never hear any of his live comedy stuff.
He came to be on. That's
yeah. A little too Rat Pack for her.
Right. He came. Don Rickles came in our show. He walked in, took one look at us, and walked out, slammed the door. Then we had to run out to the parking lot to get the rest of the interview. We wouldn't let him get in his car.
who developed the Ladmo bag?
Pat McMahon. We used to have toys from the toy cottage up on the shelves of the set, and the kids would pick out the toy. But it took some kids, it would take them like 20 minutes. So McMahon said, look, we can't slow it down like that. You just hand the kid a bag with all the sponsors' products. And here, that's it. Ladmo bag. You named everything Ladmo because Ladmo was the most popular child.
Did you think the show was going to become a smashing hit with all ages?
No, every year, you know, lots of times people in that business, they have long-term contracts. Mine was year to year because we never knew. I always think they're not going to put up with this nonsense anymore. I always thought so, but we kept going. And then we turned out to be the longest-running kids show with the original cast for years. I don't know if anybody's broken our record. It was 36 years.
Wow.